Throwaway, because my mane might get recognized, and I need to unload this saga somewhere neutral before it corrodes my brain. I'm 30, male, born, and still living in the same smallish Midwest city where every third person knows your dog's name. For 27 of those years, my ride or die was Ben. We met in kindergarten when the teacher left us unsupervised with the classroom computer. We unscrewed the back panel trying to locate the tiny singer who performed the startup jingle. Shared detention meant shared cookies from the lunch lady, and that cemented everything. We grew up on parallel tracks, bike ramps made from stolen plywood, sleepovers featuring illegal midnight burrito runs, high school detention after we hacked the PA system to play Never Gonna Give You Up. College scattered us for a bit. He majored in business 2 states away while I stayed home juggling EMT courses and night shifts. But every semester break, we reunited like magnets. The standing joke was that whichever one of us got married first would have to admit defeat and concede lifetime bragging rights. Last August, Ben called, voice rattling like an unbalanced washing machine. He'd proposed to Lauren, the woman he'd met in a wine and paint class after moving back home. The first time Ben introduced us was at a barbecue. He couldn't stop grinning. She couldn't stop scanning the crowd for anyone more interesting. Lauren had a sheen that made people stare. Glossy hair, curated laugh, the posture of someone who believes life is a photo backdrop. She shook my hand like she expected me to sell her a timeshare. When I told her I pull 48 hours on an ambulance, she said, "Oh, my cousin's a vet tech, so I get it." Close enough, I guess. Still, Ben loved her, so I decided to love that she made him happy, if not to love her. Over the next year, I did my best. Loaned her my car when hers needed a new alternator, helped her move flat screens between apartments, even sat through a 90-minute tasting session for artisanal cupcakes because Ben had food poisoning. She never said thank you outright. Her appreciation came in brittle smiles and Instagram tags that cropped me at the shoulders. I let it slide. What mattered was the pact Ben and I made at 9. Neither of us would ever let the other stand alone on big days. A month after the proposal, Ben texted a picture of himself holding a linen-textured envelope with gold calligraphy. "Save the date, dude, June 12th, he wrote. I replied with fireworks emojis and asked what shade of tie he wanted his groomsmen in. "Wedding party will be in charcoal and sage," he answered. Topic closed. Time accelerated the way it does when you're working 12-hour ambulance shifts. Winter blurred into spring. Lauren bloomed on social media. Bridal gown fittings, pastel brunches labeled Say Yes Squad, ring flash selfies that would blind the ISS. Through it all, I waited for the formal invitation. Nothing came. When April ended, I convinced myself I'd lost it. I tore apart my apartment, interrogated my mail carrier, and emailed the calligrapher. Lauren had tagged her. Nothing online is truly private. The calligrapher answered kindly. My name was never on the list she'd been given. On May 25th, I broke. I sent Ben a meme, skeleton on a bench captioned, "Me waiting for your fancy envelope." He reacted with a crying laugh emoji and wrote, "Quit trolling and RSVP already. Lauren's color-coded spreadsheet is stress crying." I froze. 2 decades of friendship, and I'd never felt distance like those pixels. I answered, "I'm not messing. I never got the invite." 3 dots bubbled, vanished, bubbled again. He called. His first words were, "You sure you didn't misplace it?" No hello. That told me everything. I heard Lauren in the background asking what was wrong. He muted, unmuted, sighed, promised he'd check tracking and call back. For the next hour, I paced my living room, replaying every slight Lauren had thrown my way. The hospital smell comment, the Kate Spade dress incident, the time she told Ben he should wear fewer graphic tees now that he's a fiancé. None of it felt exile-worthy, but microcuts become infected if you ignore them. Ben FaceTimed from his car outside their condo. His eyes were red like he'd been rubbing them. He said the tracking number showed "delivered to my building in March." I live in a secure complex with lobby cameras, and packages need signatures. We both knew something was off. I asked, did she actually mail one to me? Or did she just mark it sent? Ben stared past the phone, jaw working. He asked me to come over. At their condo, the tension was thick enough to chew. Lauren's eyes were puffy, mascara streaks drying like riverbeds. Ben gestured us into the living room, then sat silent, letting the moment ferment. Lauren folded her arms. Finally, she admitted she hadn't sent me an invitation. She claimed guest list constraints, suggested I'd be too busy pulling double shifts anyway, implied live stream attendance was more COVID-conscious. Ben's face collapsed in real time. He asked why she'd lied about tracking numbers. She said she didn't want drama. To my shock, Ben didn't placate her. He turned to me and said, "If you're not at my wedding, I'm not having one." Lauren's mouth fell open. They retreated to the bedroom. Raised voices leaked through the walls. Words like trust, embarrassed, priorities. 15 minutes later, they emerged. Lauren's voice was flat from crying. She issued a formal apology, the kind you recite to a customer whose latte you dropped. She said a courier would deliver a new invite tomorrow, and she hoped I could still come. I said yes, because refusing would feel petty, but my forgiveness valve had snapped. I walked out with the sour aftertaste of being almost erased. Next morning, a courier arrived at 7 a.m. with an envelope that probably cost more than my monthly groceries. I RSVP'd yes before brushing my teeth. Within hours, Lauren began plastering social media with photos of us together, cropped from years ago but captioned like we were brunch buddies. She resurrected the bachelor party chat to ask my opinion on microbrew selections. She called my sister to learn my favorite dessert so the caterer could incorporate it. Damage control was obvious, but I played along, polite and bland, like a waiter taking an order he knows the kitchen will mess up. 2 weeks pre-wedding, Ben rang, embarrassment coating his words like syrup. He needed help assembling a video montage for the rehearsal dinner. Lauren had overloaded on decor minutiae and outsourced tech tasks to him. I agreed. That night, Lauren sent me a link to a cloud folder titled Wedding Slides. Inside were neatly organized batches: Baby Ben, Teen Ben, college antics featuring our whole friend group, and a subfolder named Do Not Use. Curiosity is a fickle creature. I opened it. Inside were screen recordings of Lauren's phone. She and someone saved as Matt Pilates flirt texted with enthusiastic detail. Timestamps placed them less than a month old. Some overlapping days she'd posted romantic captions about Ben. In one message she wrote, "Once the ring is on, I can negotiate weekends however I want." Another had her complaining that small-town loyalty made side relationships harder. My lungs felt vacuumed. I copied the incriminating videos to an encrypted drive, scrubbed my traces, and stared at my ceiling until dawn. Telling Ben directly would demolish him, maybe detonate the wedding entirely. Part of me wanted that. Another part worried about collateral damage. Ben's finances, his parents' investments, vendors whose livelihoods hinged on event contracts. Revenge needed precision. Then I remembered the moment the wedding almost died. when Ben thought I wouldn't be there. Lauren's goal had been image maintenance. She wanted a storybook day, no variables. I would become the variable. I finished the montage. Tender snapshots, goofy GIFs, a journey from sandbox to adulthood. I embedded one clandestine slide at the end, 4 seconds long, containing 2 screenshots. Left, Lauren's text calling Ben sweet but clueless. Right, her promise to Matt that after vows everything is negotiable. Names unobscured, timestamps clear. I set the transition so the slide would appear only if the file played straight through and locked editing permissions behind a random password. I loaded the finished video onto a thumb drive and mailed it to my own room at the hotel hosting the rehearsal dinner, just in case my laptop vanished. I printed the screenshots on glossy photo paper and slipped them into my suit pocket like spare ammo. Rehearsal dinner. Candlelit ballroom humming with in-law small talk. I made the rounds, accepted compliments on the slideshow in advance, pretended my stomach wasn't tied in surgical knots. Ben high-fived me, oblivious. Lauren's grip on his arm was white knuckle. When speeches concluded, the planner cued the AV team. Lights dimmed, guests settled, I counted heartbeats. The montage played flawlessly. Baby fat laughs, prom tux disasters, freshman dorm water balloon warfare. The crowd giggled, clapped, dabbed eyes. Then my hidden slide flared onto the screen. 4 long seconds. A collective inhalation sucked the oxygen from the room. Glass shattered somewhere left of me. The slide vanished, replaced by a cheerful, "Thanks for watching, lovebirds," as though nothing scandalous had happened. People erupted, voices overlapping, chairs scraping, Lauren screeching my name like an exorcism. I slipped into the corridor before she reached the projector. Ben chased me. We stopped near a service exit. I handed him the printed photos. Under the hallway fluorescence, his face blanched chalk white. He asked how long I'd known. I told him 4 days. I said letting everyone see meant he couldn't rationalize it away. Inside, chaos crescendoed. Lauren denied, then accused me of fabrication, then collapsed into hysterics. Ben walked back in after 15 minutes with a calmness that scared me. He asked Lauren 3 yes or no questions. Did you write these? Did you plan to meet Matt after the honeymoon? Did you hide my best friend because he might see through you? She answered yes, no, partial yes. The rehearsal dinner ended right there. Vendors were told to stand by. Both families retreated to war rooms in their respective suites. Ben called me at sunrise from Riverfront Park, spot where we used to skip lectures to argue about who would turn our hometown brew pub into a franchise. He sounded hollow but steady. Canceling the wedding would drain his savings. They were locked into 30 grand penalties. He'd spent the night rewriting the prenup, stripping Lauren's claim to his future business equity and his grandmother's house. She signed after her parents threatened to pull their contribution if she didn't salvage the event. I don't forgive her, he said, but I'm not letting her bankrupt me either. I asked if he hated me. He said, "You kept our promise. You showed up." That was enough. Wedding day arrived and felt less celebration, more hostage exchange. Lauren's smile could have cracked granite. Ben looked regal in charcoal but colder, as if frost rimed his bones. I delivered my toast at the reception because Ben insisted the schedule remain intact. I spoke about loyalty forged in scraped knees and midnight rescues, how true friends dismantle each other's mistakes before the world sees. I quoted our kindergarten teacher, "If you take something apart, put it back better." Only Ben knew how sharp that blade was. His eyes glistened, not with sadness, but recognition. They exchanged vows under a canopy of imported roses. Lauren's voice trembled on the fidelity line. Ben's responses were measured, formal, like a man reading a contract written in disappearing ink. Cameras flashed. Guests applauded. The DJ spun a Frank Sinatra classic. During their first dance, Lauren murmured something, and Ben's shoulders stiffened. The photographer's lens captured that micro flinch. It later became the thumbnail for every rumor blog post. 6 weeks later, the annulment papers were filed citing fraud. The revamped prenup left Lauren with her premarital belongings and no claim to Ben's assets. She moved back with her parents in Chicago. Her social accounts went private after local influencers dissected rehearsal Dinnergate. I never leaked the screenshots online. Whispers were enough. Ben and I resumed Friday beers, though the schedule flexes around therapy sessions and his new CrossFit obsession. He told me he sometimes scrolls through what-ifs, but never reaches forgiveness. I told him forgiveness isn't compulsory. Healing is. He asked if I'd change anything. I said I'd widen the time on the slide to 6 seconds, so even the slow readers grasped it. People keep asking if detonating my best friend's wedding crossed a line. I think about lines all the time in my job. Triage lines, safety lines, lines you don't cross with controlled substances. Sometimes you have to draw one in Sharpie so nobody pretends it rubbed off. Lauren tried to erase me to maintain her illusion. She underestimated the permanence of ink. Revenge, to me, isn't scorched earth. It's surgical. You cut out rot before it spreads. You make the subject watch the excision so they remember the pain came from their own decay. I didn't cancel the wedding. Lauren's choices did. I just provided the lighting so everyone saw the tumor. Ben's parents sent me a thank you card last month, handwritten, the kind grandmothers keep in sewing boxes. They said I preserved their son's future. I don't know about hero narratives, but the message sits on my fridge holding up a grocery list. Some nights after graveyard shifts, I stare at it and wonder if I'm proud or just numb. What I do know is that friendship isn't porcelain you display untouched. It's steel you hammer, weld, and occasionally sharpen against stone. If I'm the stone that scraped sparks, so be it. I refuse to be politely omitted from my own story. Epilogue, 9 months later. Life isn't normal, but it's moving. Ben bought a cracked old Craftsman on the edge of town. Early Saturdays I bring coffee and we replace floorboards or wrestle pipes. Unlike vows, copper doesn't lie. Each rotten plank we rip out feels like a splinter of the past we're binning. News of the rehearsal dinner slide spread slowly, ivy through brick. Church bake sales whispered. Bridal shops clucked warnings. Even a local podcast dubbed me the best man whistleblower. I never sought fame, but anonymity is rare currency here. Lauren tried shifting her marketing job to Chicago, yet HR froze the move, citing reputational risk. Clients Google. Last I heard, she freelances under a rebranded surname, selling webinars on authenticity. Irony could power a small grid. 2 months after the annulment, my ambulance unit answered a fainting call at the Civic Arts Center. The patient, Lauren. Professionalism won, though a private smile flickered while I checked her vitals. She was fine. Low blood sugar, maybe karma. As I packed the stretcher, she hissed, "You ruined everything." I corrected her. I'd only turned on the lights. She said nothing else. That encounter scrubbed lingering guilt. Revenge hadn't been excess. It leveled the field. Karma needed a courier, and I carried the envelope. Weeks later, Ben and I watched sunset from his half-built porch. He said he's dating a woman from woodworking class who owns more flannels than filters. He told her everything. She'd laughed, not at him, but at the absurdity that honesty ever needs theatrics. I told him green flags rarely scream. They wave quietly. Sometimes I daydream alternate timelines, where Lauren never banned me and the wedding sailed beneath prettier lies, or where I stayed silent and Ben learned the truth after kids entered the chat. All lead to one rule: deception metastasizes when ignored. I've reread the screenshots twice just to anchor memory. Their casual emojis unsettle me more than explicit betrayal. Treachery often wears confetti. Friends ask when I'll delete them. I keep the drive locked away, not from spite but for accuracy. Legends distort. Work same as ever, hauling strangers from wrecks. But I've become sharper at spotting small betrayals. The fiancé who refuses transport. The parent scrolling while a kid wheezes. Tiny red flags now glow neon. Would I press the slideshow remote again? Yes. Its click was quiet, yet it redirected futures. Actions echo. Evidence matters. The shift after I treated Lauren, my supervisor asked why the chart note read like courtroom testimony. I told her details mattered. She laughed, reminded me paperwork isn't a confessional, but she kept the note unchanged. In our profession, accuracy saves lives. In personal battles, it salvages sanity. That night, half asleep in the station recliner, I replayed Lauren's accusation. Her phrase, "You ruined everything," echoed, brittle as dry leaves. What is everything to a person who willingly gambles trust? A venue, a hashtag, a set of diamond-rimmed photos. If that's all, the stakes were paper-thin to begin with. My actions didn't ruin anything solid. They torched cardboard scenery. Ben's mother invited me to Sunday dinner the following week. Her pot roast is legend, tender enough to forget the word chew. Between bites, she slid me a handwritten card. Inside, "Thank you for protecting my son when I couldn't." Decades of ER gore never made me tear up. That sentence almost did. It sits pinned above my desk now. Reminder that loyalty sometimes involves wielding uncomfortable truth like a scalpel. Rebuilding trust with Ben isn't linear. Some evenings he jokes about the incident, but certain songs, ones that played during the ceremony, make him retreat behind his beer. I match his pace. Healing like CPR works best when you follow rhythm, not speed. One small irony. The Craftsman house we're renovating was once a wedding venue generations ago. The attic still holds cracked candle holders and yellowed guest books. We found them while rewiring. Names loop across pages, vows long dissolved or fulfilled. Standing there amid dust motes, we understood history's impartiality. Time doesn't care whether vows wilt or bloom. Only people do. So we kept one candle holder. Once the house is finished, we plan to melt it down and recast it into a porch lantern. Take something forged for ceremony and remake it into guidance. There's metaphor somewhere, but we avoid saying it aloud. Some insights glow brighter when left unsaid. And in quiet moments, we recognize that survival is, itself, celebration enough.